What an upset we just saw as Sebastian Fundora defeats Tim Tszyu in a bloodbath. In a fight that, truthfully, the most bloody fight I've ever seen. If you go look at pictures, look at videos, a cut on the head of Tim Tszyu just caused blood to run down his face the entire night, while Tim Tszyu then bloodied Fundora's nose. In a fight that, while calculated, went blow for blow. A fight that really could have went either way, but I believe rightly Fundora came away with the decision. But the question is, at 154 now, with 2 belts, what's next for Fundora? We asked this because there's really 2 main players for that fight. One, if you were watching the fight, hopped in the ring and said, hey, bring it on. And another, well, he might just be the best fighter in the world. Actually, there might be a dark horse candidate, as we might see a rematch. Either way, what's next for Sebastian Fundora, and should it be Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, or a rematch against Tim Tszyu? Quickly, make sure you press that subscribe button, like the video, comment below, who do you think Fundora should fight next? Sebastian Fundora, called the Tall Tower, he doesn't look like he's a 154 pounder. It looks like he should be playing center for the New York Knicks, right? Had a 9-inch height advantage against Tim Tszyu, and that's what caused the cut on Tim Tszyu's head that, if you didn't see, just opened up and the entire fight just bled into Tim's eyes and really changed the complexion of the fight. I think Tim would have won the fight if that cut never happened. But either way, Fundora comes away with the victory. What happens next is, in the post-fight interview, Errol Spence enters the ring. Spence, we already know, lost to Terence Crawford back in July, and a chance to become undisputed at 147, said, I'm going up to 154. Potentially a rematch with him and Crawford never materialized. Spence had surgery for his cataract, an eye injury, clearing that up. And we've wondered what would be next for Errol Spence Jr. Well, he makes it clear, obviously at 154, he wants a chance at the titles immediately. He said, he had tweeted before the fight, he said, I'm headed to Vegas, I want the winner of this fight. The winner was expected to be Tim Tszyu. Remember, Tim Tszyu was actually going to fight Keith Thurman in this fight. Keith dropped out to an injury, and Fundora took Keith Thurman's place, I believe, 12 days before the fight even happened. So credit to Tim Tszyu for taking Fundora, who's a very good opponent. He lost by knockout last year and came back and showed the world that it wasn't just that performance, that you can say that's him as a fighter. Errol Spence comes into the mix, and he wants a chance. He wants a crack at 154 immediately. Obviously, these guys are all PBC guys, so that's an easier fight to make. For Spence, that's what makes sense. At 154, titles on the line, we get right back in the thick of things. He tweeted, hey, we're bringing this fight to Dallas. That's going to do good numbers. That's going to do good business. What's interesting is Terence Crawford. Crawford's been in this no man's land. After winning the biggest fight of his life, becoming the best fighter in the world, who's he going to fight? For a while, he wanted Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo threw up an absolute awful fight against Canelo. No one wants to see that. That fight's gone. Went on record saying, I want to go against Canelo. Canelo wasn't even fazed by that. Said, that's not happening. That really never was even discussed, I don't believe. Okay. Well, I'll fight Tim Tszyu. This fight was really, Tim Tszyu gets past Fundora, Keith Thurman, whoever he was going to fight. It's going to be Terence Crawford going up to 154 and fighting him. Heck, I even saw reports that before the fight, Tszyu's team was kind of talking to Crawford's team about a potential fight. And then Spence came into the mix. I do believe Spence, at this point, is a bigger money fight than Crawford, and fighters know that. Because after that report, Spence said, hey, I want to fight the winner, and the tune changed. Tszyu was saying, hey, I'll fight Spence. We can fight in Dallas if you want. Because while Crawford put on that excellent performance, overall, he's not drawn the money that Spence has drawn. Not been the pay-per-view attraction Spence has been. And that's not because of Crawford's skills. That's probably because of his promotion's top rank in the past. But either way, you look at it and you say, okay, so it's Spence and Crawford for Tim Tszyu. Now Tim Tszyu loses. In a fight that, personally, I think we should get a rematch, because Tim Tszyu, that's not the fighter Tim Tszyu is. If you watch the fight, you know he couldn't see. He really couldn't see because there was so much blood in his eyes. He could not see at all during this fight. And I'd like to see a rematch. But Fundora's people, his management says, hey, we're going to do what's best. We're going to maximize this opportunity. Maximizing it probably looks going to a fight with Errol Spence Jr. in Dallas. Leaving Crawford in the dust, saying, hey, we don't know. We're going to do what's best for us. We don't know what that means for you, but right now you're not the best option for us. Leaving Crawford having 3 potential opponents, just gone. Charlo, Canelo, Tim Tszyu. I guess you can add Fundora to it now. Crawford was saying, hey, you guys gotta wait in line. I'm the champ. You guys gotta wait in line. And everyone's saying, no, you did bad business with PBC. They're not gonna give you a chance. Whether that's right or not, you can go up to debate. But it's pretty clear that PBC is gonna do business with PBC if they can. Heck, all boxing promotions are gonna do what the business they can in-house before they have to go out of house. So if it's easier to make a Spence Fundora fight, that's what they're gonna do. Leaving Crawford in a position with maybe potentially a Boots Ennis fight at 47, or if Boots wants this fight bad, he can come up to 54. It's an interesting aspect. But real quick, back to the Spence Fundora part. To fight Spence, Fundora would have to vacate one of his titles, as Crawford is actually his mandatory for one of the titles he won last night, or he won against Tim Tszyu. So the question is, will Fundora say, hey, I'll go for the money fight and drop one of my titles. We'll still have one on the line at 54 against Spence. Or will I try and go against Terence Crawford, the best fighter in the world, with both my titles, and maybe a fight that doesn't do as much? It's a good question. Or does he say, am I going to be a good person and give Tim Tszyu a rematch for a fight that I believe does deserve a rematch? Let's see Tim Tszyu actually fight without any blood gushing from his head. Either way, it's interesting, and it leaves, really, Spence and Crawford just continually going at it. Well, one thing I will say is we could see, people talked about, obviously, the rematch immediately after their first fight for Spence and Crawford is dead. That's not happening. We could see another rematch, because they're both going up to 54. We could see if Spence defeats Fundora, gets a belt, somehow collects another belt, Crawford gets a belt. We could see another potential undisputed fight between those two at 54 in the coming years. Obviously, that's a long way away, and for Spence, we got to see how he returns to form. And Crawford, how long is he going to continue boxing if he's not going to get these big fights? He wants the money fights now in his career. He's proven his legacy. He wants the money fights, and right now, they're just not coming to him. So who do I believe should get Sebastian Fundora next? I think it should be a Tim Tszyu rematch. I believe that should come next. And then most likely, it's probably going to be Errol Spence who gets the fight before Terence Crawford, because that's the fight that's going to be easier to make, and most likely more money is going to be involved in the pot. Leaving Terence Crawford out to dry once again, it's a shame. A fighter of his caliber just can't find a fight. For someone who's coming off their biggest win of his career, he's going to go a year without fighting, and people want to see Terence Crawford fight. Let me know in the comments, who do you think Sebastian Fundora should fight? Do you think it should be a Tim Tszyu rematch? I personally do, but if not, should it be Crawford or should it be Spence? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about the first PBC on Prime card? Pitbull Cruz knocking out Rolly Romero. Comment below, like the video, subscribe. Appreciate you for listening. That's all I got for you today. Peace. I'm out.